going on, Jerome? So Minnesota Vikings general manager Kwesi Adofo-Mensah had some answers to some questions that had to be asked. Also, we're hat buddies. It's fantastic, man. But Vikings had their 53-man roster cutdowns, practice squad. I had some moves that raised a couple of eyebrows, and we got a couple of answers today. I will say, I don't think that anyone asked any Louis Cine questions. Maybe that thing's been hammered. So who knows, man? Doesn't matter. But also, so feels unfair to critique the local media jackals because I think overall, I think our market is pretty damn fantastic. I mean, there's some local markets out there that are just train wrecks. They're just messes. And I think that the Vikings beat writers respect the work. I think they walk that fine line between maintaining closeness to the team versus not just being a PR branch and blah, 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 and asking the good questions. But stop asking Kwesi questions about Kevin O'Connell. Basically, just every single Kevin O'Connell answer is just like, well, I really respect what Kevin O'Connell has been doing. He's a great leader. He's a true teacher. He has high standards, and I love working with him, blah, blah, blah. It's the same answer every single time, man. But also, so first off, he was asked about assembling a roster and trying to blend older players and younger players together, and he talked about is trying to assemble and hit on a perfect craps roll. It's like I knew it. Kwesi is a degen. # one of us. It's good times, man. But getting into this, so of course, the whole we believe in this team. And frankly, yeah, everyone's counting out the Vikings, and he even got into the win totals, and he had this whole spiel like the Monte Carlo model, and it's sort of like it's almost like professorial. He's taking all the beat writers to school about how you go into the numbers and the analytics for win totals because Kwesi, I'm sure, has done that every single year, right? But also talked about love and respect for Kevin O'Connell, how this is a solid blend of young and veteran players just trying to hit that perfect craps roll. And you talked about how tough it can be. A lot of players that ended up not being part of the 53 or practice squad. And we talked about how this is a cultural thing. Obviously the business is the business, and there's some coldness there. But he talked about how these relationships aren't transactional and how these players let go will have his number forever. And they care about these players as people more than just players. Now, is part of that true? I actually believe it. I mean, it's like every job you've worked at, and the company and like the boss and the CEO says we're family here. Baloney. But I actually think that Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell believe it. I think that's what sets the Vikings culture apart. Talked about vibes, culture, chemistry, how they can't project. So it's something that is created and is the sum of its parts versus just trying to manufacture. Can't really do that, man. Plus, funny, he talked about how. So he talked about Kevin O'Connell about 33-0 and how O'Connell just took it one play at a time, one drive at a time, and so did the whole team coming back against the Colts. And Kwesi talked about how early on maybe he tried too hard for that 33-point play. Now, obviously, the 2022 draft took place before 33-0 comeback, but maybe Kwesi was trying too hard, and maybe that's what explains the trade backs and trades in division, and taking shots on players who had injury history and it didn't quite work out, right? But also he talked about inheriting an aging roster and salary cap. Not saying, I'm just saying. But working through those salary cap issues and churning over the roster, and the Vikings, their core is one of the youngest in the league now. So yeah, you gotta respect what's going on there. Also credits his parents to how to respond to adversity, and reporters were asking him about everything that went on this offseason, whether it's the tragic passing of Kyrie Jackson, rest in power, Addison's issues, training camp injuries, and he credits his mom just getting up every single day, got to go to work, and just got to get after things, man. Also talked about how they made a concerted effort personnel-wise. So, again, that leads credence to Flores being more involved in personnel this offseason, how they want to play more man coverage in 2024, and personnel changes to do that. Plus, he gave shout-outs to Dwight Newdy-McLaughlin, as well as Caleb Evans, plus Fabian Moreau and whatnot, and also Mekhi Blackman, back in the building after his surgery. Just being around guys like Stephon Gilmore and Byron Murphy, and being around the vets like Shaq Griffin, and just really learning how to get after things. Plus, they talked about how the world has changed, especially with the changes with the practice squad. So it's no longer a draft and develop league. It's a what can you do for me now, even though the practice squad does afford you the luxury of having some younger players on there that can get a better look and transition to the NFL game, and always looking to get better on the margins. And you could say that Kwesi just drops corporate speak all the time, because he comes from a different background than the traditional GMs. Comes from the scouts. Wait, that was almost a Hawk-Tuah reference. I did not mean to do that. That was tobacco spit. Chew tobacco, chew tobacco, chew tobacco, spit. But, every team wants to get better, and they pay lip service to that. But I actually believe Kwesi. And they're going to go about things differently, but hopefully the results will indeed be different for the Vikings versus what's happened since 1961. And then it got into a transaction. So Brett Rippon, he thinks that gives the Vikings more time to develop Jaren Hall. And he talked about how you're always a play away or 2 plays away. And even though Jaren Hall had a great preseason, they want more time to work with him. And they mentioned that they want Jaren Hall back on the practice squad. But I don't think anyone caught this. But for Kwesi, this is kind of a snarky line. Quote, if he, Jaren Hall, so chooses to do that. So I think that was a little bit like, well, Jaren Hall is probably going to clear waivers. Although there's some scuttlebutt that maybe the Seahawks will be on him, but they remember he has, if he's claimed, he has to be on the other team's 53-man roster. But if he clears waivers, he's a free agent and he can sign with any practice squad that he wants, and the Vikings want him back. But if he so chooses to do that, wonder if there's something there. Seems a little out of character for Kwesi, because that's a quasi passive aggressive shot, or maybe he's just been around Minnesota for a while. Also, a surprising move. So Myles Gaskin was named as kick returner 1. Now Gaskin is on the practice squad, but you do have game day elevations up to 3. And Gaskin had gotten some work in training camp returning kicks, but also currently on the depth chart is obviously unofficial, but they did list Ty Chandler and Brandon Powell. But if Chandler's going to be involved in the offense, same thing with Brandon Powell, I guess it would make sense for Gaskin or McBride, who also had a lot of kick return work back there, to be getting that work. And they also, and Kwesi also credited Myles Gaskin, the veteran, who is a rock solid do it all running back on top of a plus kick returner, as a reason why they felt comfortable with letting King Kene go. Where you talked about how Myles has a more diverse skill set, and the decision with Kene was much more about Myles. I mean, Kene Nwangwu is very explosive. Don't get me wrong. I would have loved to have kept him. I think that he'll be dynamite under the new rules. But I mean, Kene, he's got that explosiveness, but he's not the well-rounded running back like Myles Gaskin is. I mean, Gaskin is a much better receiver. Gaskin is a more patient, more mature runner, as well as Gaskin is obviously a Myles better as a pass protector. So, I mean, kind of sucks, but I guess I get it. And then Ed Ingram, you talked about how he started slow in training camp this year and is ascending. It says he sets the tone in the running game. They're just looking for more consistency out of him. And that's basically it. And like I said, unless I missed it, I don't think there was any questions about Lewis Seen or anything else like that. But overall, like Kwesi did touch a couple bases on what went on during a 53-man roster cut down. So it's going to be good to go there. But your thoughts are thoughts. Kwesi, feeding the local media jackals. Let us know your thoughts, our thoughts, his thoughts. Comment section below. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Skol, production value.